Hey folks, Chef Cutting here. Thanks so much for joining me. I have a great recipe here that I'm about to do for you, and it's called spiced sweet potato creamy soup. And let me tell you something, this soup is to die for. It's awesome because it's made with nothing but nature's own sweet potatoes, carrots, onions, herbs, spices, nothing in it that would make this a non-Palean dish. This is a Palean soup that you can have any time of the year. But what a great timing, right? Holiday season, hot, spicy soup made with great flavors like sweet potatoes and carrots, which should give you the natural caramelization of sugars, balanced by some good heat from the spices and some great herbs to flavor it off. So let's go ahead and make this soup. And let me just tell you, I may have mentioned creamy, but there's no cream in it. It's just nature's own. So let's get in my test kitchen and let's make spiced sweet potato creamy soup.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining our kitchen. We are about to create a great Palean soup. This is spiced sweet potato creamy soup, and I am going to be making this with the following items. You're going to be able to see this is going to be able to feed approximately 4 people as a soup, but if you wanted to serve this more as an entree, then you'd probably be looking more at 2 people. So this will be a 2 to 4 serving depending on how you're going to use it. Let's get started with the ingredients, shall we? We have 2 large sweet potatoes. We have 2 large carrots. We have 1 small onion, and I've cut it in half here, but it was 1 onion. But I've cut it in half because this is a rather large onion, so I'm just going to use this piece and omit that. And then we've got 2 bacon sliced, and I've actually cooked the bacon already, and I'll tell you why once we get the recipe started. And then I have a teaspoon of orange zest, which I'm just going to pretty much take all the zest off of this orange right here. I don't suggest you use dried zest because you really don't get the same flavor from the oil of the fruit. But if you don't have fresh oranges, then obviously, yes, the dehydrated zest would be your next step. But I would highly suggest you use a fresh orange or mandarin. I like using mandarins because mandarins have a sweeter zest. This is going to add a better flavor to the soup. And then I have here 2 cups of chicken broth. You can use vegetable broth if chicken isn't something you want to put in your diet. And then I also have a 1/4 teaspoon of dried thyme. I have a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. I use kosher salt, so it melts better and it has a lower sodium rate. And then I have 1/8 teaspoon of chili flakes. And the way we're going to make all this is we're going to get all the vegetable prep done first. Then we're going to assimilate all of the prep into a cooked product. And then we're going to puree it down and we're going to serve it as a bowl of soup. So let's get started and let's get our vegetable prep started and let's get moving. Okay, we're going to get started here with the sweet potatoes. Basically, very simply put, we're just going to go ahead and peel these out. Oop, runaway potato. I'm going to peel them off like so. We don't want to use the peels in this soup because the peels will make a bitter taste into the soup, but there's always times where you should use the peels. So don't get me wrong, I'm a big fan of keeping the peel on in a lot of my recipes. But in this one, I'm going to tell you, it won't work. So you're going to get the peel completely off like so. And you want to have a sharp knife, something like this. This is a relatively big kitchen knife. And when you're holding your knife, you put your finger on top like this. Don't hold it like this, because if you hold it like this, it's going to go like this. You have more held with the knife like that. What we're going to do is you're just going to cut it into big discs. Like so, okay? And then you're just going to go ahead and cut them into cubes like this. Now, if you're really good at using your knife, you can do it with 2. That's not saying that I'm really good, but it saves time. And you got some pretty good cubed sweet potatoes. I'm going to do that with the rest of them and then get moving into the onions. Okay, next step we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and cut the onion, and I got a real easy way to do that. Just cut the onion in half like so. Peel off the first membrane so you're getting all that skin and maybe half wilted onion because you don't want that on there. It's not going to give you the same flavor. You're just going to cut this into little slices like that. And that's it, you're done with the onion. Let's move on to the carrot. Okay, here we are with the carrots. We're just doing the same thing, a long peel like so. And that's okay if you want to scrub them instead of peeling them, you can do that too. I like to peel the carrots when I make soups because it has a tendency to darken the soup color, so that's why I take the peels off. But you're welcome to keep the peels on if you're a scrubber and you like to keep all that natural nutrients in there. I'm not going to argue with you. And that's how you want the carrots cut. Let's go ahead and move on to the zest. You can see I put some wax paper down. I did this because you need to keep your zest dry. I'm going to use this. This is a grater, and basically this is a 3 grater, so you have 1, 2, and then 3. The third one's usually the finest. This is going to be your zester, okay? What I'm going to do though is I'm going to use the second one, because I want to make it a little bit bolder with using the mandarin. So I'm just going to go like this, and you can gauge whether this is going to be good for you or not, but you can see right there, that's what the zest looks like. Now if you want to make it even smaller, then you can go to the third ring, which is really almost like a powdery zest. I want there to be a rind in there so you can see it. It will break down when you cook it, so it's not going to be that big of a deal, but it just goes to, it's just a preference. So this is the way I want to do it. So I'm just going to take the mandarin and I'm just going to rub it along like this, constantly rolling it in my fingers and making sure I don't cut too deep into the orange where I get anything lower than this where you start seeing the white. You don't want any of the white in there. That's called the pith, and the pith is going to definitely make your soup bitter, and you don't want that. You want the oil and the great flavor that zesting gives you. So I'm going to go ahead and just tap that, and there you go, folks. That's the zest, and we're looking for approximately 1 teaspoon of orange zest, and that right there is about a teaspoon. Now the other thing we want to do too is we want to use juice from the orange. So I'm going to juice this, and I'm going to use everything that I have so that I'm using all the ingredients, and they're all natural and they're all Paleo, and you're going to find the flavors in this are almost more intense than just using it, you know, regular salt, pepper, sugars, and all the things that fall outside of, you know, what the Paleo diet is. No additives, no preservatives, just plain cooking with food as it's meant to have. So that's where we're at. I'm going to go ahead and move on to juicing the orange now. Okay, I have nothing fancy here. This is just a regular juicer with a reservoir. I'm going to go ahead and cut the orange in half now, like so. And then I'm just going to go ahead and juice it. And this is going to add some of the sugar that we need to the soup to give it a nice sweet flavor. Even though the carrots, the onions, and the sweet potatoes are really going to give it a nice sweet flavor anyway, this really gives it an extra sugar boost that's made of nothing but nature. And you want to get all of that out of there, so you just want to keep twisting it around. I don't have anything negative about juicers, but I mean, when you're making a soup like this, you really don't need a juicer. It's just going to be more equipment you need to clean off, and this does the job just as well. Just twist that thing around. You got some pretty decent juice there. I got about a half a cup. So, all right, we're going to get started here, and we're going to go ahead and take it to the bacon. Already, I did this to save us time. The grease is left over in the pan. I'm going to go ahead and chop the bacon up into little pieces. So I'm just going to go like this. Now, if you wanted to do it the opposite way and chop the bacon up raw and then put it in the pan, you could do that too. But the reason I do it this way is because chopping up raw bacon's dangerous, because if you miss it, you can cut yourself. And on top of that, it's also a lot easier to work with the cooked product than it is with the greased product. So I like to do it this way, but you could do it either way. So now that we've done that, we are ready to start putting our soup together. So let's go ahead and get in the saute area and start making that soup. Okay, we've got our bacon here, so the first thing we're going to do is go ahead and start adding our onions into the bacon grease. Okay, once we've added our onions, we're going to add our herbs and our spices. So we're going to go ahead and add the salt first. We're going to add the thyme. Then we're going to add the chili flakes. I'll go ahead and saute those up. If you can't flip like I'm doing right now, then just go ahead and do it with a saute pan and spatula or tongs, whatever you're more comfortable with. We're going to saute these for a couple minutes, and then when they start getting a little translucent, we'll add the carrots and the sweet potatoes. As you can see, the onions are starting to get nice and translucent. This is the time for us to add the rest of the vegetables and get them coated with the bacon and the herbs. And again, if you can't, toss like this, just use a pair of tongs and go ahead and make sure you get all those vegetables nicely mixed up with the herbs and the bacon grease. Okay, we're going to cook this for about another 5 minutes, just like the way it is, and then we're going to move on to adding it to our stock pot. Okay, here you can see we have a stock pot ready to receive the soup. I'm going to go ahead and pour our chicken stock in there. We're going to get that up to temp while we're waiting for our sweet potato mixture to cook completely in the frying pan, and then we're going to add it to our stock. Okay, our mixture has now been cooking for approximately 5 minutes, so I'm going to go ahead now and I'm going to place the mixture into our nice soup pot here. And I'm certainly going to not forget about all the goodness in that pan. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a little bit of that mixture and I'm going to just demi-glaze it in the pan like there, so I can get all that goodness from the pan. There we go. And then I'm just going to pour that into the soup. And now we're in business. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead now and I'm going to stir this into my stock pot. I'm going to make sure that all of these vegetables now will cook here for approximately 15 to 20 minutes until they get nice and soft. And then the next step is going to be either you can use an immersion blender within the pot, or you can actually use a food processor, which I'm going to use to really blend it thoroughly outside of the pot. But either one will work, and I will show you both ways. Alright folks, now what we're going to do here is I'm going to dice up the bacon here. And now you're going to see why I kept the bacon the way I did, because I'm going to use this to top my soup. And if you have coconut milk or coconut yogurt, which I do, it would be a really nice way to top the soup. So what I'm going to do is use this with a little bit of basil and a little bit of coconut yogurt to top the soup and really finish the soup off nice. So this will be a really good garnish when we're finished. Okay, so while we wait for our soup, we have our nicely diced bacon here. I have my coconut yogurt made from coconut milk, and then I have some fresh, beautiful aromatic basil that I'm going to chop in a julienne fashion. It's going to be a chiffonade, so it's going to be a very thin slice. And what we're going to do is we're going to take the yogurt, kind of spin it into the sauce, sprinkle the bacon around the spin, and then take a little bit of the chiffonade basil and drop it in the middle. It's going to look very dramatic. It's going to make the soup look awesome, and they're never even going to believe that you just made them a Paleo diet. Okay, we've got the soup to a rapid boil now, and the vegetables are almost exactly where we need them to be for the softness. I'm going to add the zest in there now, and I'm going to also add the squeezed juice into that as well. And we're going to mix that around and then come back to it within the next probably 5 minutes. Okay, here we go. We've got really good consistency here with the soup. The stock is reduced and has been absorbed into the vegetables. The vegetables are nice and tender now. You can see my spoon just falls right through them. This is the time where we are able to either use our immersed blender or we can use our food processor. I'm going to show you how to use both. Okay, so I'm going to use the immersed blender here, and basically what I'm going to do is I'm just going to puree it into the pot while I cooked it. Now, I prefer to use a food processor, so I'm going to put it in this food processor here and then blend it in there. Either one is fine. I just prefer the food processor because I get a better blend with it. Okay, I have here my blender on the lowest setting. I'm going to just puree this and then just move it upwards until I see the chunks starting to puree. Then once I see what I like to call the belly button up front, I then just tone it back down and turn it off. And we'll go in there and look real quick and you can see it's nice and pureed. If it's too thick, you can add just a little bit of hot water and you'll be able to get it to a little more consistency like you like. But this is great for me. So we'll start to get this plated up and get ready to make our soup. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, we're ready to finish the process. As you know, I have my garnishes ready with me. One of the reasons why I like to use the food processor is because it's so easy to serve. I have it in my processor, I simply just need to pour it in the bowl. And what a beautiful consistency this has turned out to be. Look at how gorgeous that is. A nice full 8-ounce bowl there. I'll probably get about 2 to 3 servings. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and take my garnishes here, and I'm going to take my yogurt, as I told you before, my coconut yogurt, and I'm just going to go ahead and place a little dollop in the middle like that. And I'm just going to, maybe just serve a little bit of that and just melt it around the sides there like this. See, I'm getting that circle there. It's beautiful. It's almost like a melted butter, really. There you go. You get a nice little effect there of white circles on the top of the soup. Just like that. There you go. And then I'm going to go ahead, as I said before, take a little bacon, put that around the top of the soup, because of course we use that bacon grease in there, and that's going to just accent it even more. And as promised, I chiffonaded this basil, so you can see the basil is nice and thinly cut. And I'm just going to go ahead and I'm just going to go right around the middle here of the cream. And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. A wonderful spiced sweet potato creamy soup made Paleo style from my kitchen to yours. What a wonderful soup. Bon appetit.